Okay, we're off to this developing story. A diplomatic row has broken out following the Polish government's refusal to allow President Ramaphosa's security personnel to disembark in Warsaw. We now speak to the presidential spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya, who's joining us via Zoom. Vincent, good morning, and thank you so much for making time for us. What information has the presidency received around this standoff?
Good morning, and good morning to your viewers. First, let me just point out that on arrival in Poland, President Ramaphosa met with his Polish counterpart, President Duda, and that meeting was very positive and fruitful with respect to bilateral relations between South Africa and Poland, as well as President Duda's support for the African Peace Leaders mission. The incident at the airport, disappointing as it is, to us, it's not a reflection of the state of our bilateral relations. We are working on ironing out what exactly did the misunderstanding come from, because our officials, that is the security officials who chartered the flight, had all the necessary permits for the landing of the flight in Poland, as well as for the equipment, security equipment that was on board the flight.
You say it is not it doesn't speak to the state of bilaterals with Poland, yet the head of the Presidential Protection Unit, Wally Rhoode, characterized this as sabotage.
Well, we can understand General Rhode's sentiment from the kind of experience he had, and having been stuck on an aircraft for more than 9 hours without any food and without any proper explanation. But we still do not believe that the behavior of the officials at the airport reflect the sentiment that the entire country of Poland has towards South Africa, and that's based on the nature of the discussions that the president held with his Polish counterparts. As I've said, we have our ambassador in Warsaw, as well as our teams on the ground, who are trying to iron out the issue. The passengers in the chartered flights have all been provided with meals and water, and we hope that the impasse will be resolved fairly soon through diplomatic channels.
Is it the presidency's view as well that this is sabotage?
Well, not really. If I reference President Duda's sentiment with respect to the African peace leaders, with the African leaders' peace mission, rather, he was very supportive and quite complimentary on the relevance, the timing, the urgency, and the importance of this peace mission. So it will be difficult to associate it with sabotage, as much as the actions of the Polish officials at the airport are rather perplexing. It will be difficult for us to point to direct evidence that talks to sabotage. Hence, we are in ongoing engagements with our counterparts in Poland to understand exactly what informed their behavior, as well as their actions when there were all the necessary permits, and all of this information, travel plans and everything, were submitted weeks in advance.
Yeah. The president, as you indicated, has met with President Duda, as well as the delegation that's part of the South African delegation this is, those who were allowed to disembark. Did the president at all raise this issue with President Duda?
No, the incident happened after the meeting with President Duda, and so the issue never came up. The president was only briefed on the matter some hours after we became aware of the standoff at the airport. The initial information was they were just going through the necessary checks. The team was waiting for another private charter flight that was going to ferry them from Warsaw to the town of Warsaw en route to St. Petersburg. And unfortunately, that chartered flight could not also secure permission to land in Poland, despite having secured prior permission to do so. And so you had issues on two fronts, really. One with the private charter company that was going to continue the rest of the trip, and also with the authorities at the airport in Warsaw. And so all of this happened prior to that meeting. Otherwise, if it had happened before, the issue will have been raised directly with President Duda, and we've left it to our ambassador now to raise the matter directly with the Polish authorities.
Was it part of the plan that the president would be traveling via train to Ukraine?
As you will know, the airspace in Ukraine is closed because of the war, and so the best, safest possible way to get to Kyiv is via train. So let me just clarify. The president and his delegation flew with his normal aircraft in Kwazi, which is operated by our Air Force, and so there was no incident there. Secondly, we had advanced security teams, or rather we've had advanced security teams here in Kyiv for about 2 weeks. And they've conducted a thorough security threat assessment, and they have continuously advised that it will be safe for the president to travel. Thirdly, host countries do take a degree of responsibility to secure their guests. It's part of the normal diplomatic and security courtesies that are provided. And so insofar as the president's security is concerned, the president is secure. There is no compromise whatsoever to his security. General Rhoode obviously had his security plan. He would have preferred, rightly so, to have the full team on the ground, but he had also deployed a substantial amount of members who are working in collaboration with the Ukrainian counterparts. We also have security teams from the participating countries, and so there's been a great deal of collaboration across all teams. And so I will assure you and the viewers that the president is safe and will be safe during the duration of the mission.
Will there be an internal investigation from the presidency side, at least, to look into what went wrong here and if there needs to be anyone who needs to be held accountable? Because as General Wally had said, that the president's security has been compromised.
Well, on the side of our officials, particularly security officials, they had all the necessary permits. And so there was no offense or violation of the law that has been caused by our officials. And so at this stage, we don't see what the purpose of that investigation will be, except to say we'll be seeking an understanding from our Polish counterparts as to what really informed the behavior and the actions of their officials, rather than investigating any of our officials who, as things stand, we do not feel acted outside of the necessary regulations.
What do you say as a final question, Vincent, to South Africans and people who are watching the news right now around this actually being geopolitics that is playing out, considering Poland's stance on Russia's invasion into Ukraine, and also where South Africa stands, and Poland has been clear, even with that warrant of arrest that was issued by the ICC, that Vladimir Putin must be arrested?
Well, I think those observations are being made by listeners and other analysts and people such as yourself will not be disputed. But from our side, we have to deal with the information we have at hand. We have to deal with the evidence. What we saw from the Polish authorities in the meeting with the president was support for this peace mission. Unequivocal support, and I must add, by the way, that the mission has started. We are currently in the city of Bucha, visiting a site of civilian mass burial who were killed in the course of the conflict. There's been a commemoration in honor of those civilians who were killed. From here, we will proceed to a briefing by the Defense Ministry of Ukraine, and thereafter talks with President Zelensky will commence at about 2 o'clock this afternoon if everything goes according to schedule. And so on the side of the mission, without getting too sidetracked by the unfortunate incident in Poland, the mission is underway and it's proceeding as planned. The leaders held a consultation in the train last night to finalize what will be their message to President Zelensky and President Putin. There's a great deal of optimism amongst the African heads of state and government that are here that the mission is timely, not only in terms of seeking a road to peace that will ultimately prevent the loss of lives, but also to alleviate the negative impact this conflict has on our continent with respect to food insecurity, the price of fuel, and generally the instability that this conflict has caused around the globe.
Thank you so much for your time. Vincent Magwenya is the spokesperson for the president, and confirmation there that the president is indeed safe, and right now the president is in Ukraine.